Everybody, welcome to our Wednesday night live Q&A. If this is your first time joining, welcome. And when you log on, please write your name and where you're from, either state or country, and that will enter you into our drawing for a free bag of Pup for Training treats. So if you haven't tried them yet, here's your chance to win a free bag. I have the chicken ones here tonight, but I like all of them. My dogs love all of them. Sorry, I just have to fix my hair. Hi, Julie. How are you? So yeah, when you log on, just tell me where you're from, and I'm excited to answer all of your questions tonight. So come prepared with your training and or behavior questions, and we'll get them answered the best we can. I'm also going to be taking names for the drawing, so if you kind of see me looking away, that's why, because I'm writing names. So let's see, what is today? I don't have my watch. I think it's the 14th or 15th. Oh, no, it's not the 15th. It's either the 13th or the 14th. I'll just put 14th. Oh, you have extra kids sleeping over. Is that like human kids or dog kids? Oh, it's the 14th. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, so let me get Julie, Nicole, let's see. So last week we kind of talked about about body language. Oh, you have humans. Oh, I'm sorry. I can handle, like right now, I have 6 dogs at my house. But I'd much rather have 6 dogs than 6 extra humans any day. But that's why tonight I'm actually doing this in my office, because my house would be too loud, because I have a little French bulldog staying with me, and he is super rambunctious and he likes to bark, and I thought there's no way I can do a live with him. So that's why I'm here, and it kind of gives me a break from like all the craziness. I also have hi Marion, I have a new foster dog. If any of you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you may have seen Willy Wonka. Oh, every third day you're watching the Pit Lab for a Fireman. That's so nice of you. I know they go, at least here in Utah, they do like 48 on, and then they have like 4 days off or something like that. Or they do like 3 on, and then, sorry, it's windy here and I'm like trying to fix my hair. So at the fire department that I used to work at, sometimes the firefighters could bring their dog to work as long as they, got along with other dogs, and they would have to put them in a crate, like if they went out on a call or at night. But that's really nice that you watch it for them. I bet they really appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, 24 on and 48 off. Okay. Yeah, so Marion has seen Willy Wonka. So he is a English bulldog / pit bull / French bulldog. We don't really know. But he has a congenital spine defect, so his back legs don't work. So he just got some new wheels last week, and he has been cruising around the backyard now. So if you want, you can follow us on Instagram. I don't do the Instagram because I'm social media challenged, but the other trainer that works for me does it, and she posts some really cute, she always posts some good training stuff, but she always posts pictures of Willy Wonka. kind of in his progression of going from like just walking in the yard. Well, he drags his back feet. So we initially were going to name him Willy Walrus because he walks like a walrus, but then it just kind of became Willy Wonka because he walks wonky. Sweetest dog though. And when I come out at night with the diaper, because he has to have a diaper on at night, that little guy can cruise with no back feet. Well, he drags them. He can cruise to get away from me because he does not want to have his diaper on. So the dog is a sweetheart. Yeah, that's good. Usually, I mean, y'all know that I'm very pit bull prejudiced, but I would imagine that a pit lab would be a great dog. So that's really nice that you do that. That's cool. I've never thought about that, about like doing that as I couldn't do it on the side because I'm too busy, and I usually always have a house full of dogs, but that's really cool. So yes, right now I have my 3. I have the little French bulldog that's board and trained, and then I have my foster, who would probably be a foster fail. And then my cousin's hunting dog is there as well. So it is impossible to keep my house clean. Oh, Wilma is a pit lab mix. Yeah. That's so cute. You'll have to post a picture like on the Facebook. I don't always see all the Facebook posts, or you can email it to me. I would love to see a picture of her. So you can just email me at tracy@pupford.com and show me what she looks like. There was actually quite a few pit mixes at the fire station I worked at. And then we got a new accounting guy, and he was terrified of dogs, like all dogs. Doesn't matter what breed, he was terrified of all dogs. And the pit bull thing like put him over the edge. So they finally told me that I couldn't bring my dogs to work anymore, which really made me mad because I'd been doing it for years. And just because this guy was, I'm sorry, kind of a pansy. And my dogs were very well behaved, very friendly. They would never hurt him. But he was terrified. So I couldn't bring them to work anymore. So I got really upset. So anyway, what questions do you guys have for tonight for our question and answer? Well, let me make sure. Yep, I got everyone so far. Okay, so Julie, New York, Nicole, Oklahoma, right? And Marion, Utah. Yes, I did see the video. I emailed you back. Did you get it? Because, hi, Kristen. Because I thought I emailed you back in that I kind of felt like, okay, that one of them I can't remember if it was Dakota or Ellie was playing like too rough. Tiffany, thanks for joining. I have been wanting to meet Tiffany because I see her comments and posts on the Facebook group all the time, and she gives really, really good advice. Tiffany, you must be a trainer because you do give good advice. And usually when you answer, I may add some things, but usually I'm like, oh, Tiffany's got it covered. So I'm glad that you joined. So you sent another one. I may have thought that it was the one that you'd already sent, so I haven't seen the latest one, but I got it and I'll email you back again. So if any of you guys have questions about like body language or how your dogs are playing, or is this play or is this too rough, feel free to email them to me, and I'm happy to take a look and just let you know kind of what I think. In Julie's case, I thought it was good play style, but I did also feel that one of the dogs was being a little bit too rough and maybe a little bit too like bullying too much the other dog. And so I'm happy to look at videos for you and just give you my opinion. So feel free to send them to me. I will put my email in the chat. Probably most of you guys already have it, but it's Tracy with an I at pupford.com. Okay, so what questions do you guys have? If nobody has any questions yet, I'm going to ask Tiffany, just like if you are a trainer, where did you study or did you mentor under somebody? Because that's what I did. And then I just got my hours and certified through CCPDT. And but I always like to know if people went through like Karen Pryor Academy, which I wish I had done, but now I doubt I would go back and go through just because of time. But yeah, I kind of wish I had done that. But I had a really, really good mentor that started working with me with one of my dogs, and we worked together for like 2 years. And then I just went into training myself, started to get my hours, things like that. So when you get a new dog, and especially sometimes a problem dog, so that you have to work with a trainer, that turned out to be life-changing for me, because I was an aversive trainer at first. So Stephanie. Yeah, so Stephanie, this will be good advice for you. I just lost my pen. Stephanie, where are you from? And I will enter you in the drawing. Okay, I'm not kidding. I just had a pen and I just lost it. That's so weird. Where could it have gone? It could not have gone very far because I've been sitting here in the same spot the whole time. Okay, you guys, that is so weird. It's like the only pen that I have in my entire office has just disappeared. Let me see if it rolled off. Jade, where's my pen? I looked at Jade. Jade's not chewing it. Okay, I'm going to be back in 1 second. I'm going to run out and borrow a pen from these guys. I'll be right back. Come on, let's go. Okay, pencil. That is so weird. It's like, how could a pen disappear like that fast? Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, Stephanie, you're in Canada. Emily. Hi, Emily. Oh, we have a lot of people tonight. I'm excited. This is great. Emily is from Virginia. Let me write down Karen. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is pretty informal. But I just kind of go through and answer the questions. Sometimes I'll skip somebody just because it'll go like, say Julie asks a question and then Nicole asks, but then Julie adds on to her. So I'll just kind of skip to stay on topic, and then I'll go back and get the ones I missed. So Stephanie is saying, I want to be a trainer. Been looking into it so much lately. How long does it usually take? So in my case, I had started training search and rescue dogs, and I was an aversive trainer, meaning that we use shock collars, prong collars, choke collars. And then when I adopted one of the Michael Vick dogs, part of the court order with those dogs is that you had to work with a science-based trainer. And I'm like, okay, fine. I don't really even know what that is. So they found a trainer for me, and we worked together for 2 years just on kind of rehabilitating Hallie. But it was so much fun, and I learned so much. And then at the same time, my first pit bull, we were working on training him to be a therapy dog. So I just like got into this so much. And then I had asked my trainer, like, if I decided to go into this, like, would you mentor me and help me? And she said, sure. So I started reading books. If you have the time and the money, I would recommend like Karen Pryor Academy over some of the other dog training like colleges that they have. I've had, I won't name them, but I've had a few people do their hours or mentor or test under me, and I wasn't super impressed with what they had learned or how much they knew. So I kind of thought it was a waste of money. Karen Pryor Academy would be amazing. But what I did is I started just keeping track. Once I started training my own clients, and I started like teaching puppy classes, and I just started there and doing basic obedience, reading books. If you get on like the CCPDT website, they'll give you a list of suggested reading. And I just started keeping track of my training hours. So you have to have like 300 training hours. If you work or volunteer at a rescue or at a vet office, 75 hours can come from there. And then when you feel like you're ready, you take a test that is given twice a year. And then you can become certified. So I think with Karen Pryor Academy, you also have to do continuing ed. You have to do continuing ed through CCPDT as well. So, but there's a lot of really good online resources for like webinars and things like that to learn. And so you could go that way too, and it would be cheaper, but you should totally do it. As far as how long it takes, it depends on how much time you can put into it. So again, you have to have 300 hours of training. And that's not like shadowing. That's like you're actually training. So keeping track of that, and then, doing a lot of reading and learning about learning theory for dogs and things like that. So kind of reading. I didn't do every book on the suggested reading list. I just did, I probably did like 5 or 6 of them. So, and then I just went through that same process again to get CBCC certified, which is Certified Behavior Consultant. So I just went through that whole process again to get a second certification. So if there's a good science-based trainer where you live, you could ask them if you could mentor under them. I don't know. I know with Karen Pryor Academy, you can do most of it online, but there's 2 times when you have to go to one of her facilities and pass off some tests. I know one is in Colorado, which was the closest to me, but I don't know what the closest one would be for you in Canada. So you might have to look into that. But yeah, I know Emily, who is on every week, she's kind of doing the same thing. It's like I kind of told her what books to read, and it's good to start with training your own dogs. And then I asked like neighbors if I could practice on their dogs, and then things like that. Then I started just doing basic obedience classes and basic puppy classes, and kind of built from there. So you should totally do it. That'd be awesome, and I'm happy to help you if there's any help that I can be. Okay, let's see. Okay, Nicole has a question. I'm looking at muzzle training my dogs. They don't have an issue that needs it, but think it would be good to get them used to one in case something requires it down the road. Any suggestions? I think that's a great idea. I've actually trained one of my dogs to a muzzle only because sometimes I need to demonstrate how to get them used to it. And so I've gotten her used to it just so I can demonstrate with her. But it is good good to have if your dog ever needs to go to the vet, or like, let's say your dog gets hurt. So dog that gets, heaven forbid, but gets hit by a car. Sometimes when dogs are in pain and you try to pick them up or move them, they will try to bite. And it's a pain response. It's not like being aggressive, but it's a pain response. And so sometimes in that situation, we have to muzzle them, just to keep us safe and keep us from getting bit. So I think every dog should get used to a muzzle. A lot of times if they go to the vet or, maybe to a groomer and they don't like their nails trimmed, sometimes the groomers or the vet will put a muzzle on. And so it's a lot less traumatic if your dog's already used to a muzzle. So I like the Baskerville, and I don't think I have one here. I think it's in my car. But I like the Baskerville Ultra. It's like a basket muzzle, but it allows the dog to eat, drink, pant. And the easiest way to do treats through a basket muzzle is spray cheese. Okay, can you pick that up for me? Pick it up. Pick it up. Ouch. Thank you. Good girl. Sorry, we've been working on Jade picking things up for me. She just did it. I should have showed everybody. Now I have to give her a treat for it because she just picked up the cap. Good girl. Thank you. So I use spray cheese a lot through a muzzle because you can get it in there easier. You can still give treats through a muzzle, but this is just easier. And then there's a really good video by Shirad Patel. That's usually the one that I send people. And if you go on YouTube, and I think the name of his company is Domesticated Manners, or it'll be under, so it's Chirag, and then his last name is Patel, Patel. And he has a really good muzzle desensitization video. Pupford may have one as well. I haven't really looked, so I'm not sure if they do, but you could check and see if they do. But I usually take a week to get them used to it. So the first thing I do is start with, like, I'll just pretend, oh, here I have this toy. Let's pretend like this is the muzzle. So I'll put both hands behind my back and I'll present the muzzle, and then I'll give a treat, and then they both go away. And then I'll show them the muzzle, treat, and then they both go away. And I do that until I show the muzzle and the dog like wags their tail and gets all excited because the muzzle predicts a treat's coming. And so then I'll start to like put spray cheese right here or peanut butter, and I let the dog just lick it. And then I'll start to put it back in further until the dog's actually sticking his nose in to lick the peanut butter or the cheese. So the dog's sticking his nose in there on his own. And then I start to slowly do the straps according to what the dog can handle. So I would look at the Baskerville Ultra and then check out that video. And Nicole, if you want to email me and just remind me, I can send you the link for that video. It's really good. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. Some people, when I recommend muzzles to people, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want people to think my dog's aggressive. And sometimes I have to say, well, but your dog is aggressive. And it's just good with liability. And again, if your dog gets hurt and is in pain, then it's really good to have them used to a muzzle, just so if you have to move your dog, you don't get bit. Stephanie, yes, I did have other jobs while I was doing that. So I started by volunteering at a rescue. And I volunteered, and then I got a part-time job there. And I think, I don't know if your hours can be from a rescue, and as a volunteer, but then you have to have actual clients. But you actually have to be a trainer, and I would recommend that you get paid for it. Every trainer that's gone through CCPDT, you have to have your 300 hours. And so you're pretty much a trainer before you take the test. And then you take the test to get certified. So I was already charging for classes, taking private clients, getting paid. I did raise my prices once I became certified. But while I was training, like, you're still giving a service, and you can always say, like, right now I'm just doing basic obedience. And then as you learn more and take more classes and do more things, then you can start to feel more comfortable working with like reactivity, separation anxiety, aggression, things like that. So at the very beginning, yes, I volunteered, and I volunteered to train my neighbor's dogs. But then when I had people start to ask about classes, yes, I did charge for classes, because your time is worth it and you're giving people valuable information. The other thing I found, that if you give stuff away for free, people don't take it serious. So I have on occasion told people, like, since you did board and train with me, why don't you just come to puppy class and I'll let you do it for free? And a lot of times they either don't show up, or they don't do the homework, or they don't, because they don't have any money vested into it. I mean, they paid for the board and train, but if you're giving stuff away for free, then a lot of times people don't do the homework and they don't follow up and they don't do that. So I would charge. You can charge whatever you're comfortable with, and get your hours. And then once you become certified, because you're going to be paying for webinars and books and things like that. So you might as well get paid something to offset that cost. And then hours for mentorships. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. So like in my case, where I mentored under Sky, it was basically, I just started doing classes and doing privates, and I did take her classes with my dogs, but I'd been doing that for like 2 years. But then if I had something come up, I would call her and say, or email her and say, hey, how would I address this, or how would I do this? And she would tell me. So that's kind of how the mentorship works. There are some actual mentorships that you pay for, and they will put you through like different courses and do things like that. And I'm not sure exactly how those work. I know my friend Emily Strong has a mentorship program. Hers is called Pet Harmony. I'm not sure how much it costs or what's required, but you could certainly look into that as well. I was doing her behavior consultant mentorship kind of for a while, and then I got busy working, so I didn't finish it. But that's another good one that you could work, or that you could look into. But yes, I definitely had a full-time paying job, and I just did this on the side until I got enough clientele to go out on my own, and that now this is what I do full time. So yeah, you should totally do it. It's fun. And the nice thing is you get to work with dogs every day. You get to be your own boss. You can make your own schedule. I'm a self-proclaimed workaholic, so I work like 6 days a week. But if you want to take a day off, you can. You don't have to ask anybody. You just take a day off. So it's been very, very rewarding, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, let me know if I can be of some help. I think it would be totally cool. Anita. Hi, Anita. Okay. I should have grabbed a pen instead. I couldn't find a pen, so I grabbed a pencil. It doesn't write as well. Let's see. Is that the same for Canada for certifications? I believe so, because I believe that they certify all over. I know that IAABC, which their focus is behavior, they have people certified all over the world. So I'm pretty sure that it would be the same for Canada. But you could get on their website and it'll list out like the requirements, what you need to do, recommended reading, like all that kind of stuff. And it will tell you, but I'm pretty sure that it's the same everywhere. So that's a great question, Stephanie. So you do learn how to train dogs, but a lot of the things on the test is how to work with the client and how to work with the people. And every time, not every time, but I would bet 85% of the time when I go in people's houses to help them with their dog, they make the comment, they said, so it's more about training us. And I say, yes. So you really, now I love doing rescue work, and I worked at a rescue for 3 years and just worked with the dogs and loved that. And then after 3 years, I went out on my own a year ago, and I do this full time now. So now that I'm doing classes and doing in-home training and virtual training, it is more about working with the client and teaching them how to help their dog. And a good example of that is that I do board and train for puppies, and it's actually not my favorite thing to do. And the reason is I can teach the dog to do what I want them to do in my environment, but then when they go home, if the owners don't keep up on it, their dog's going to revert back. And so I tell them, like, yes, I can train your dog, but then you're going to have to spend an hour with me so I can show you what we did, and you're going to have to keep up on it. Otherwise, your dog will forget everything. So it really is more about teaching the owners how to work with their own dog. So that's a great question. And there's a percentage on the test that is about working with clients. And so one of the books that I did read is by Terry, I think it's Terry Ryan, and it's called Coaching. Oh shoot, what's the name of it? Do I have it here? I might even have it here. It's probably home. I have books here and I have some at home. I think it's coaching people to train their dogs or something like that. I can look it up on Amazon really quick. That's a really good one. And I went through that whole book, and even though I read that book, there was still some stuff on the test that I wasn't sure of. So let me just look this up for you really quick. Oh, coaching people to train their dogs. And it is Terry Ryan. I don't know if you can see that with the glare, but that's what it looks like. So that's a good one on how to help the people work with their dogs. So yes, and definitely if you go hiking or something and your dog gets hurt or injured, so I had a client whose dog got hit by a car, and this dog was really messed up, like mouth, teeth missing, broken leg. And when they went to scoop him up, he was in a lot of pain and he tried to bite. And he was a service dog, so he was a dog that like never would have bit. But because he was in shock and was in pain, he did try to bite. So yes, it's a good thing to learn, just to know anyway. Also I had a dog that had been severely abused before I got him, and he did not like to be handled. So anytime we went to the vet, we had to muzzle him just to do nail trims or vaccinations. We had to muzzle him, but he hated the muzzle. And so as soon as the vet walked in with the muzzle, he would start to bite me. Like he would, not hard, like he never broke skin, but he would just freak out and start to bite. And so that's a good example of when you want to be able to you want to teach your dog to have a really good association with the muzzle so that you can help your dog in situations like that. So I had actually started to work with him on cooperative care with nail trims and muzzle training. And then he had an accident that I was out of town. I don't actually know what happened, but he had an old break in his back that somehow slipped a disc or did something, and he was paralyzed. So I had to end up euthanizing him. Um, and that's another case where he was in pain, he was scared, he was biting. It took us 45 minutes just to get the muzzle on him. And it was traumatic. It was traumatic for him and us. And so since then, I have muzzle trained all of my dogs just so I can do it just in case I ever need it. So that's a good idea. Okay, Julie, I know a couple of signs of dog aggression, such as to avoid eye contact, the lip movement. We are still working on a lot of things, such as engage, disengage. So, yeah. Are you talking about like your two dogs? So with two dogs, so I was working with two French bulldogs today, and sometimes, and their issue was aggression towards each other around food. And so I would see the dogs kind of like direct stare at each other. And that's when I would like interrupt. And I'd say, okay, enough, like watch me, and reward them for focusing on me. Yes, if you see like a lip curl, and it could be so subtle, like just a little lip curl, or you could be a full on, like I'm showing all my teeth. Another one is like whale eye. So if you see a dog kind of looking away, but still looking, and so you see the whites of their eye, we call that whale eye. Freezing. So a lot of dogs will be like loose and panting, but then if they suddenly freeze, their mouth is closed and they're pretty tense, that's a good sign, a stress signal. I may have told you this last week, so if I did, I apologize. But in my reactive dog class, we were practicing doing some walk-bys, and the two people that were supposed to be walking by each other suddenly stopped, and their dogs started to stare at each other. And right as I was ready to walk in the middle and break their stare, the dogs like lunged at each other, which is not what I want to happen in reactive dog class. But after it happened, I said, who here could tell that was coming? And one owner and me and one other trainer that helps me said they could tell. And so I actually asked the other dog owner, I said, okay, what was it that told you that was going to happen? And she said their stiff body language. The other thing is they were both forward. So they were both in like an offensive position. So like they were ready to go if they had to. So they weren't just like leaning back and all loose, but they were forward. They were frozen. Their mouth was closed. They were direct staring. And then they lunged at each other just like that. So yes, the lip licking also. So if you see, or tongue flick, things like that can be, and I always look at the whole body. So some people will just look at the tail, but some dogs, have a tail that goes up, and like a husky will have a tail. The French bulldogs don't even have tails today. So I had to look at other things. So I always look at the whole body. I'll also look for like furrowed brow. Sometimes if the commissure in their lips is like clear back, that's kind of a stress signal. So you really want to look at the whole body when looking at that. But the ones that I see that happen almost every time are the direct stare. And if I see two dogs direct staring, that's when I'll interrupt and I'll say, hey, okay, guys, that's enough. Focus on me. And I just do kind of a fun, like a positive interrupter, just to interrupt their focus on the other dog. Now, that being said, you kind of have to know your dog too. So like today, the little French bulldog that I have that's staying with me, he and Jade play really well together, and they play really rough. And he will actually do this thing where he'll go really slow and he'll hunch down and he'll like stalk Jade and he'll stare at her. And then when he gets close, he'll like run up on her, and then they like wrestle and play. But I know the dog, and I know that that's how they play. So I don't worry about that. But if I saw a dog that I didn't know doing that, I would definitely interrupt and try to redirect that. So it is important to know your dogs and know your dog's play style, because with that, I know that that's just what and he's a puppy. Like, he's only like 4 months old, and and he's little. Like it's probably like, this is the difference. This would be Maui, the little French bulldog, compared to Jade. Like, he's little. And so for him to stalk her and go up is kind of funny. And then they just play. So, but in that instance, I know that's how he plays, and I know they're just playing. So it is kind of important to know context. Stephanie, absolutely. Yeah, email me for anything that you need, and I'll try to answer as best I can. And I can also send you the exact email for CCPDT. I can give you a list of the books or at least the books that I remember that I read. I'm sure there's a lot that I've read since or that I don't remember. So you're working 40 hours a week. So honestly, I just did whatever I could. So like, I think I started out 2 to 3 days a week. After work, I would go to the rescue and walk dogs or start working on basic training with dogs. I would go over on some Saturdays. I worked all day at a vet clinic, and then after hours, I started teaching puppy classes and adult 1 classes. So I did a lot after. So I would say that I probably did like 5 to 10 hours a week on my own, but it's actually whatever you can do. I mean, the more you can do, the faster it'll be for you, but you also don't want to burn out before you even get there. So you just do what you can do. It might take you 2 years or 3 years. But yeah, definitely fun and definitely worth it. I wish, had I known like 5 years ago what I know now, I would have gotten into this a long time ago, honestly. So, yes, Karen, the muzzle's a great idea. If you guys haven't seen it before, look up the Muzzle Up Project. So it's just Muzzle Up Project. And it kind of goes over all the pros of having a muzzle and teaching your dog to be on a muzzle. And it talks about it in a positive way so that people don't view it negatively. So I had a client the other day that was on a trail with her dog on a muzzle, and somebody tried to shame her and said, if you have to have your dog on a muzzle, you have no business being here. And that's absolutely not true. I mean, every dog has the right to get exercise and go for a walk. This lady, in my opinion, was being very responsible because she had her dog on a leash and she had her dog muzzled. And so she had every right to go for a walk with her dog. So, her dog was just reactive, and just to keep her dog safe and other dogs safe, she muzzles her dogs on walks. And I think that's totally appropriate. Okay. Katharina, or is it Katarina? To pause. Also, let me know where you're from. I'll put you in the drawing. My 9-month-old is okay in crowds at farmers markets or passing people on the street. But if someone approaches us on the street, even just complimenting how cute she is, her hair stands up and she backs up and barks. Yeah, so that could, so when a dog's hackles go up, that's not necessarily, that just means like over arousal. I had a puppy board and train last week, and when the guy brought the dog in, and she first met my dogs one at a time, her hackles were up, or his, it was a boy. So his hackles were up, and I took him to puppy class one time, and when he met the other dogs, his hackles were up. He was not aggressive at all. In his case, he was more fearful, and just kind of unsure and kind of like overly aroused. Once I let him sniff my dogs and sniff the other dogs, he was totally fine, and then he played. And if she backs up and barks, that's more of a fear thing. So it's not really aggression. It's more like fearful, fear-based reactivity is kind of what we call it. So what I would do is have some treats. And if the other people comment like, oh, she's so cute, just say, hey, would you mind? She's a little shy. Could you just toss treats to her? So just having them toss treats to her. You'll want to use something high value. For that, I actually use the salmon. So I use the Pupford, but the salmon treats. And just ask them to toss treats to her so that she starts to associate strangers equal yummy treats. I like it when we pass strangers or when we see people on the street and they talk to us, because then I get yummy treats. But you always want to give her choice and control over environment. So if she chooses to back up and doesn't want to take the treats, you don't want to force her. Actually, I would let them toss it. But then eventually you can like have them put a treat in your hand. Like if your dog is taking the treats okay from them tossing, then just put a treat in their hand like this and say, just offer your hand and allow your dog the opportunity to go take it out of their hand. And if she doesn't want to, great, don't make her. But if she does want to, then she'll take it out of their hand. After she's taken a few, then they can slowly start to pet her under the chin. Tell them not to reach over, because that's scary, especially for a fearful or a timid dog. So tell them, don't reach over her, but you can just gently pet her under the chin. And if she wants to back away, that's fine. She can back away. And I would just make every interaction that she has with people positive. The other thing you can do is if she doesn't want to approach people, you can do the engage, disengage, or the look at that. And if you email me, I will send you a handout. I think Pupford has it actually in their resources, but if not, I can send it to you. And that's where from a distance, when your dog just looks at them, you can click and treat. And I do use a clicker for this because you're clicking for the dog looking and staying calm. So it's oh, look at the person, click treat. And then oh, look, there's somebody walking towards us, click treat. If she starts to bark, then you want to back away and then move her farther away, because that is, if she's barking, that means she's too close. So then we want to move her farther away. But as long as she's calm, then you can keep doing that. And what will eventually happen is your dog will look at the person and then disengage and look at you and be like, oh, mom, dad, there's a dog. Where's my treat? And I actually click and treat for that too. So when they look at the dog and then look away, I click treat for that. And that kind of teaches an auto check-in or an auto focus. So when your dog looks at them and then looks at you, whenever your dog is unsure about something, we actually, instead of reacting at the person, we want them to look at us and check in, and we can reward that and be like, oh, thanks for checking in. Yeah, it's just a person. It's no big deal. Look, they're going to toss treats to you. And then the calmer that you are, the calmer your dog's going to be as well. So yeah, I would just start to do that. It sounds like just a socialization issue, and maybe not having met enough people when your dog was younger, which happened a lot during COVID. So just pairing the strangers with treats, either coming from you or coming from the other people, would be great. You can even do things like sit in your car outside a Petco, and every time your dog looks at somebody, you can like treat, like, oh, look at all those people, treat, treat. And especially when they're walking towards you, like if they're going back to their car and they're walking towards you, you can treat your dog for that too. So just pairing the scary thing with the high value treats. And like I said, that's what I use the salmon treats for. Okay, so Stephanie, I'll probably reach out to shelters to see if they're open on weekends or evenings. Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, and I do remember your 300 hours have to be within 3 years. So if you had some like 4 years ago, they won't count them. So it has to be within 3 years. But yeah, most, like our rescue was open 7 days a week because there was always dogs there. And I started out kind of just doing leash manners, sit, watch me, like easy stuff, and then kind of progressed from there. So, okay, you're from Pennsylvania. Let me write your name down really quick. But I love talking about dog training because it's so much fun. So I would love to help you. Yeah, she's on the shy side. Yeah, and when people do it without permission and they reach, that is scary to a dog. And so really all your dog is doing is backing up, and by barking, she's saying, like, you're scaring me. This is not cool. Back up. That's all she's doing. So one thing that you want to do is, not that you did this, but you want to not punish her for barking, because she's just communicating like, you're too close. I don't like you reaching for me. Back up. So we don't ever want to punish that. And then you can tell the man like, oh, she's really shy. So one thing that I recommended to one of my clients that has a puppy in training is I had them get a vest that says in training, like not even therapy dog in training or service dog in training. It's just a vest. You can get them on Amazon, and it just says in training. And people are more apt to ask if they see a vest that says in training, then they're more likely to say, oh, can I pet your dog? And then you can say, well, actually, I'm going to hand you some treats, and could you just toss treats to her and then hold one out in your hand and see if she wants to take it? And you could do it that way. So, yeah. And at 4 months, she's already gone through her fear periods. We don't know how much socialization she had during that time, or if she had a bad experience with strangers during one of her fear periods. That could affect it too. But the good thing is she's still under a year old, so you can still socialize. You can still, well, even if she was over a year, you could still change it. You just have to change her from being, I'm scared of people, to like, I love it when I see people because I get really yummy treats, and make sure they're really high value. So I had a friend whose dog had, hi, Danny. Her German Shepherd was afraid of men. So she went and sat out on a street, and every man that came walking by, she gave them some hot dogs, and she said, would you walk by and just toss hot dogs to my dog? And so the dog learned that, man walking by equals hot dogs, and it worked really well. And yeah, as far as the vest, like as long as you're not portraying something that your dog isn't, like all it has to do is say in training. It can be any color, but then you can just explain, yeah, I just rescued her. She's in training. She's a little shy. Could you please do this? And, then work through it that way. So, here, Jade, here's a treat. Good girl. I'm taking my nightly Excedrin. I think it's the heat. that makes my headaches like worse. I've had really bad headaches ever since I had COVID. But then in the heat, I think it gets even worse, which is weird because I drink more water. So I'm like really hydrated, but I get worse headaches. It's not you guys. This happens all the time. Um, oh, so it's morning in Australia. I've always wanted to go to Australia someday. Someday maybe I will. Okay. Any other questions? I'm gonna scroll back through and just make sure that I didn't forget anybody's question or didn't skip over anybody. So Marion, I know you're involved with service dog stuff. Do you train service dogs, or are you with a service dog agency, or what? I can't remember exactly what it is. I may reach out to you on Facebook with some service dog training questions. Okay, let's see. So Julie, I will look at your video and get back to you. We talked a ton about training. You guys will know everything there is to know about becoming a trainer if you want to do that. So I know I talked earlier when I was talking to Nicole about watching the fireman's dog. I actually worked full time at a fire department when I started training and getting my hours. So I was working a 40-hour week and then volunteering on the side and starting to train on the side to get my hours. So that's actually what I did. And then we got a new boss that was really hard to deal with. So I left and went to work for a vet clinic. And then I started to teach classes after hours. So it kind of worked out really well. Let's see. Okay. Oh, we do have a new message. So let me scroll down. Let me just make sure that I haven't skipped anybody's. I'll tell you, Stephanie, the biggest challenge for me is having boundaries. Like right now, I don't have any. So I take Sundays off, and I try really hard to not look at my phone on Sunday. And I should take another day of the week off, because on Sundays I have church and family and stuff like that. So, but as far as I will have clients text or email me at like 10 o'clock at night, and sometimes I'll just hurry and answer them. And other trainers tell me, like, you got to have boundaries, you got to have hours, because when you work for yourself and your computer's home and you don't really have like a set. I mean, I do have this office that I do virtual stuff in, but a lot of the stuff I do is from home. So it is really hard to have boundaries. So it is a work in progress for me. And some of my other trainer friends have told me like what they do. Some of them have like 2 different phones. And so after hours, they shut their work phone off and then they have their personal phone. Or they don't answer emails or texts after a certain time. So I always figure, I can hurry and answer this now, and then that's one less I have to answer tomorrow. But so yeah, I am kind of a workaholic. So if you do this, set really good boundaries with people. Okay, let's see. Katharina, question, okay, about the reactivity, and it totally is just fear. It sounds like total fear to me. Okay, Danny, my 6-year-old Maltese was attacked at the park 12 months ago. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Since then, when he meets new dogs and puppies, he reacts with a growl and barking and chases them a little. Yes, and that's fear because he had a bad experience happen to him. Um, he never wants to hurt them. It's more of a protective thing. Is there a way to ensure him he's okay and they won't hurt him and not react? You could do, well, since he was attacked, if you see a dog that's off leash, and since you have a Maltese, I would pick your dog up. Like, just pick your dog up and then say, is your dog friendly? Is it okay to put my dog down? And then if they say, oh yeah, my dog's fine, then it's probably safe to put your dog down. And then, as long as you're not nervous and you just say, it's okay, go check it out. He may like growl and bark a little bit because he's trying to move them away. But if you can let him meet, if you know people that have really good, what's the word I'm looking for? Like neutral dogs. So a lot of really nervous dogs I introduced to Jade because she is so neutral. She would rather go sniff the ground than meet a dog. Like, she doesn't really care about other dogs. She just kind of ignores them other than when she's playing. So she's really good at letting other dogs meet her. But I also think that the more your dog can meet other dogs and have a really good experience, it's going to help with that fear. Because right now your dog is just fearful. And so when he's reacting, he's trying to move them away because he doesn't want to get attacked again. So it may take a little bit of time, but just make sure that every encounter is positive as much as possible. The other thing that you could do is the engage, disengage from a distance. So when you see a dog from a distance, you can have your dog look at them, click treat. So if he starts to bark, then you move further away. But so let's say we'll use these guys again. So you might have to be a really long distance, but we'll just do it here because this is in the screen. So when your dog sees the other dog, then you click and treat for him just looking and not reacting. And then you can very slowly, like one step at a time, move one step closer and then do it from this distance. And then if your dog is fine with that, move one step closer. Also, if your dog looks at the other dog and then looks away and checks in with you, I would click and treat that, because that is teaching your dog, if you're unsure about something or if you're not comfortable, look and check in with me instead of reacting, and I will reward you. And another thing you could do is reward for looking away from the dog and looking at you. You could reward that by actually backing your dog away from the other dog. And so he knows that when he checks in, the reward is going to be, oh, I get to move further away from the scary dog. And then you can slowly work up to actually being able to meet the other dog. So there's a really good book. So you can do like the engage, disengage from a distance, but where this is like a fear thing, this is a really good book. So it's called BAT training. It's behavior adjustment training. And it really is good about teaching you to read your dog's body language, and then kind of knowing when to move forward and when to then back your dog up, back your dog away. So basically, if your dog shows any kind of calming signals, such as looking away, sniffing the ground, turning sideways, then you can reward your dog by moving away from the scary thing. And then you slowly start to get closer again. So it's a lot more involved than that, but that might be a really good thing for you to work on with your dog, because your dog will learn that he has choice. He doesn't have to go meet a dog if he doesn't want to. And when he shows calming signals instead of barking and reacting. He gets to move farther away. For those of you that have been on here every week, you all know that I am terrified of mice. So I am on the table screaming. But if somebody said, okay, if you can stay calm, I'll move the mouse farther away, I would stay calm, knowing that, okay, if I stay calm, the mouse is going to go away. Or if I start to act like, okay, that's a little bit too close, so somebody says, okay, no problem, let's back up. Then I know I have a choice, and then I may be braver next time to get a little bit closer. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of different techniques you can use. You could do the engage, disengage. You could do the bat, things like that. But if there is a loose dog, I would totally pick your dog up, because we don't want him to have another bad experience with another dog. So I would pick him up and then ask, say, hey, is this dog, is your dog friendly? Oh, Karen, I never thought about that. When you drink a lot more water, you have to replenish your electrolytes. I get migraines. I've had migraines since high school. So I've had a lot, and I do drink a lot of water. So I never thought about that. So do you drink like Gatorade? Is that how you replenish your electrolytes? Because I could do like sugar-free Gatorade. I'm trying to like not do sugar and cut down on sugar. Okay, David, welcome. David's been here before from Oregon. So I'm just going to write your name down really quick. In fact, I think David won. Didn't you win 1 year? Or not 1 year, sorry, 1 week. Didn't you win the free training treats? And then we have Jeremy, also from Oregon. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Since you just logged on, we've been talking about a lot of things. Yeah, you did. I thought you did. Sometimes I do these at home, and so my papers that I write and then tear up are at home, and then sometimes they're here in my office, so I don't always remember, or I can't look and see a one. Oh, so David says your puppy's doing so well. Thanks to your advice. Oh, thank you. That just made my day and my week. I'm so happy to hear that. Oh, pickle juice. Ugh, I don't know if I could drink pickle juice. I love pickles, but I don't know if I could do pickle juice, but I love Gatorade. So that's a good idea. I'm going to do that because it's really hot here and I'm outside a lot. So I drink a ton of water and I probably need to use that. LMNT. Okay. I'm going to write that down. Okay. Thank you for the advice. I would love to be able to get rid of headaches and migraines. It's awful. I've actually had, since Saturday, I've had 2 days with migraines since Saturday, and today's Wednesday. So right now it's just a headache. If I can catch it before it gets too bad, then it usually doesn't turn into a migraine. But yeah, that's a good idea. It's funny. You don't like pickles. I love pickles, but I don't know if I could do pickle juice. So until we get a few more questions, which if we don't, I'll just do a drawing. But that's actually what I'm training Jade to do, is be a migraine alert dog. So she started waking me up in the middle of the night. And at first I'm like, oh my gosh, Jade, why are you waking me up? And then I realized I had a really bad headache. And she did it twice. And so I reached out to a trainer that does like seizure alert, diabetic alert, gluten detection. And I said, is it possible to train them to do this? So that's why we're doing this. is to train her, except that she can't always like jump up and lick my face. It's kind of not appropriate sometimes. So I'm trying to teach her a different cue. So like when she senses it, I'm trying to teach her a spin, and work on that. And then we're working on her public access as well. And yes, they do suck. When I was in high school and through my 20s, I used to have to go to the ER like once a month and get shots. And at that time, they did like Demerol and Toradol. And that I wouldn't go more than once a month because I didn't want to get hooked on pain medicine. But when they got really, really bad, I would have to go. I don't actually do that anymore. I have a neurologist now, and he lets me do my own Toradol shots. And I just try and control it like through diet. And I had gotten mine down to once a month, not to get off topic. I had gotten mine down to one migraine a month until I got COVID. And then since I got COVID, I have had like a constant headache that never goes away since October. And then it will turn into a migraine sometimes, like now 2 to 3 times a week, which really sucks. And you eat keto. I'm actually vegetarian. I have a really boring diet because I don't like to cook, but I do vegetarian, almost vegan, but there's like some dairy that I haven't given up yet. But I try to go gluten-free and organic. So I get my protein from nuts, beans, and tofu. Not a big tofu fan, but you got to get it somehow. So Danny, it's Thursday in Australia. Awesome. How's Thursday? What's tomorrow going to be like? Okay, Julie, is there any way to redirect Ellie from playing rough with the other dog? Yeah, so Jade plays rough. She's a very rough player. And when she starts to play too rough, I'll just use like a positive interrupter. So I'll say, okay, enough, let's take a break. And they're not in trouble. So I don't want them to think that they're in trouble. So I don't want to yell at them, but I'll just kind of interrupt, and I'll give them like a 1-minute timeout. So I'll just separate them. If I have to hold them or hold harnesses or collars or whatever, I'll give them like a 1-minute timeout, and then I let them go back to play again. And that's how I do it in puppy class too. So if puppies are playing too rough, or if I think that one dog is getting like bullied, not really bullied, but if one dog's playing too rough with, say, a shyer dog, then I'll say, okay, time out for this one. And usually I just have the people go up and say, gotcha. And then it's just a fun, positive, like, gotcha, we're going to do a timeout. And then we do a 1-minute timeout so they can decompress, and then they get to go back and play. And if they go back, okay, some dogs have a lot of timeouts during puppy playtime. But other dogs learn from that like 1-minute timeout, and then they play more calm. So yeah, I just do a really positive, and you can have a word like okay, timeout, or like gotcha, or take a break. Just as long as you do it in a happy voice and not like you're punishing them or getting mad at them. So it has to be like positive and like, okay, let's take a break. And I do have to do that with Jade a lot because she is a rough player. So she has to have some time out sometimes just to calm down, and then she gets to go right back in and play. Oh my gosh, it's winter in Australia. I'm moving there right now because it's summer here and it is hot. It's been up probably, I know down in the city, they've gotten into 100. Probably where I live, it's like in the 90s, but during the day, it is so hot. So I am jealous that it's cold in winter because I can take cold in winter any day over summer. I don't do well in the heat, but I love the cold. So, okay, Nicole, Something odd is Wilma and Moose play rough together and seem to enjoy it. And that is true. Some dogs like to play rough, and as long as the other dog is okay with it, it's totally fine. So, like, I know that Jade and Daphne are going to play rough, and they do it. If I think that Daphne's getting a little bit ticked off or kind of over it, then I will do a timeout and redirect Jade to like a 1 minute timeout, and then let him go back to it. But if both dogs like it and they're okay with it, that's totally fine. I've noticed that pit bulls in general play rough, and so they play really well with other pit bulls. So when I have pit bull puppies in my class that play too rough for maybe the other dogs, I let them play with Jade, and their play styles match really well. And then Nicole says, but Wilma doesn't like other dogs to play rough with her, and she will come behind me. So, yeah, and it could just be that she doesn't know the other dogs well enough, and I've seen that as well. So my dogs that know each other and the dogs that come to my house a lot, they will play rough together. But let's say there's a dog that Jade doesn't know, and that dog comes and tries to play too rough with her, she'll probably correct them. Like, she will snap at them or bark, kind of like say, hey, that's too rough. And I let her do that because it's appropriate. If a dog she doesn't know comes and tries to jump on her back or get in her face or doesn't greet appropriately, she will give him a correction, and it's an appropriate correction. So I don't let them fight, so I don't let it go that far. But as long as she corrects and the other dog backs down, that's totally fine. If Wilma goes behind you, then that kind of means it is too rough, and you don't want to make her play. So in puppy class, if a dog is hiding behind their owner, I tell them to pick their puppy up. Now, Wilma's probably too big to pick up, but you could move her away or be like, okay, fine, if you don't want to play, let's move away. Because we don't want her to be fearful of other dogs, and if it's too rough, then we want to be her advocate and kind of move her away from them, so that she's not like forced to play with dogs that are too rough. Now, if she gives them a correction, that's appropriate. So if she like growls or snaps, like, back off, I would totally let her do that. And as long as the other dog backs off and is like, oh, sorry, then that's an appropriate dog communication. But if the other dog doesn't back off, then you need to be Wilma's advocate and say, okay, we're going to go. Oh, and you do pick her up, but she's 50 pounds. Yeah, you're stronger than me. I actually have to pick Maddie up and put her on the bed, and she's 70, and I can barely lift her. And when you pick her up, one thing that you don't want to do is like baby her. So it's okay to pick her up, but then don't say, oh, it's okay, they're not going to hurt you. So like soothing and babying and coddling is going to it could lead to like learned helplessness where she doesn't know how to cope with other dogs. So it is absolutely okay to pick her up or take her out, but then just be like, okay, fine, you don't want to play, that's fine, no big deal, we'll just take you out, and just be confident about it and upbeat, and just make sure that you don't like baby her. So it could just be that she's, she doesn't know how to greet other dogs, but then once she can play. And it could be that the other dog is being inappropriate, and she doesn't like it, and that's totally fine too. Sometimes, like, again, the dog that I had with board and train went to puppy class with me last night, and at first he was really scared of the other dogs. Like, his hackles were up. He would bark at them as they came through the door. And then as soon as I let him sniff, and then they did a little bit of like walking around and sniffing. And then after about 5 minutes, he was totally fine and running around and playing with them. So sometimes it just takes some dogs a little bit longer to greet other dogs and realize that, okay, it's fine. So I also like to always introduce other dogs on leash, so that if one dog is afraid and like barks or growls or whatever, then you can kind of just like walk the two dogs away from each other. So I always stay on the outside of the leash, so that as they're like circling and sniffing, I'm always on the outside, and that way if she's scared or the other dog doesn't back away, you can just say, okay, let's go, and you just separate them. Okay, a lot of times after the other dog runs around a bit, but not in her face, she goes to play with them. Yeah, so it sounds like more it's just the other dog is being too rough when greeting her, or the greeting overwhelms her. But then when she sees that the dog is not a threat and is just going to play, then she's fine. And that's pretty normal. So yeah, I would just make sure everything is positive with her, but it sounds like you're doing everything totally right. And it sounds like she's being appropriate as well. And figuring out that, oh, okay, well, maybe this dog isn't so bad. And then she can go play with them. And it does take some dogs longer to warm up than others. So, yeah. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, I will hurry and do a drawing. So I need to hurry and put these in. So my bucket list for those of you that are new or haven't joined in for a while, I'm going to try and teach Jade how to pick a name out of a bowl. I'm teaching her to pick stuff up. Like earlier, if you missed it, I dropped the cap and she picked it up for me. But we haven't done like one piece of paper out of a bowl without her picking up all of them, or a mouthful, and then wanting to go lay on her bed and eat them. So we're still working on that. Okay. Tonight's winner is Karen Chesbro from Massachusetts. Can't even say it tonight. So congratulations, Karen. You are going to email hello@pupford.com. I'm just putting it in the chat right now. And I will also email them and let them know that you're the winner. So email them with your address and let them know what flavor of treats you want. If you haven't tried them at all, now's your chance to try them. If there's a flavor you haven't tried, now you can try a new flavor if you want. So, yeah, congratulations. So if there's no more questions, again, if you guys need any of the handouts we've talked about, feel free to email me. If you have like a more in-depth or serious problem, I'm also doing virtual training consults, and I'm doing them at it's like a 15% or not 15%, $15 discount for Pupford folks. So you can email me. I've got a couple right now that we're actually setting up that we're going to do virtual consult, and I have lots of videos that I can show you like what to do and then talk you through it. So if you have something that's a little bit more in depth than what I can answer here, or if when I explain, I'm a very visual learner. So even though I explain things, if you need to see like, well, I really need to see what that looks like, then, we can always do that as well. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We had a great group, great questions. And if we don't have any more, I will see you all next week, same time, same place, and everybody have a wonderful week.